Good morning. So today we are back in Canada. We spent the summer in London at our place in London, and now we are back at home in Canada. So today is going to be a fall reset day. We've set this day aside because we're going to do some goal setting together. We're going to get prepped for the fall. We're going to maybe do some decluttering and some organizing and things like that for the fall. So I'm really excited, and we're going to show you everything that we're going to do today.
Now that we're back in Canada, the kids are back in school, and we get our days to ourselves a little bit more working from home, but also because Kim and I spent a lot of time in school. Kind of the natural pattern to our life for a very long time has been starting in September, that kind of clean slate in September. We've neglected the house for a while because we've been over in London, so it's a time to kind of get everything set right again. We'll show maybe some decluttering because things have found their way into places that they shouldn't have over the last few months.
Normally after the boys head out to school, we basically start working because we have the luxury of working from home in our business. But today we are going to do different things. We're going to go out. We're going to maybe do a little bit of shopping.
We're going to eat breakfast.
We're going to eat breakfast, which we'll show you next, and we'll talk about why that's actually kind of different than what we normally do too.
So we want to bring you along with us as we plan and prepare for our fall and get ready for the seasons ahead.
So let's get to it.
Okay.
Okay, so Ken is making us some breakfast, which is actually, quite unusual. We very rarely have breakfast together because, well,
or breakfast at all.
Or breakfast at all. Because for one thing, I generally don't eat breakfast first thing in the morning because I practice intermittent fasting, so I don't actually eat my first meal until closer to midday. I have a pretty regular morning routine that I follow each day because I get up early in the morning because I realized a long time ago that if I wanted to have some quiet time before the kids get up, then I needed to get up a little bit earlier than everybody. So I've been doing that for years and years and years. And so my morning routine currently involves having a glass of water because that's my first thing. I need to rehydrate first thing in the morning. My coffee, I have black coffee to adhere to the intermittent fasting, and I usually spend a few minutes journaling at that moment. Then I usually do a really short yoga flow, even if it's just like 5 or 10 minutes, just to start to stretch and move my body. And then I love to go out for a short walk just around the neighborhood. I mean, the length of it depends on how much I am approaching when I have to start getting the kids ready for school. But I love getting outside in the morning, no matter what the weather, even if it's pouring rain, I get my umbrella to help me to get grounded and centered in the morning. Back to the house to get the kids organized for school. Then I usually do some weightlifting because that's a big priority for me currently. But then I get started with working. And the same thing with Ken, usually because we work at home, usually we just dive straight into working once we've taken care of those morning routine pieces. And that's why this day is actually kind of a departure from our normal. But it's a big departure from what we used to have many years ago when I was working at the clinic and Ken was working at the bank. And so our mornings were a lot more chaotic. It was just like up, all business, and then everybody's out the door. Everyone's scattering to school, to work. So this is much nicer that we get to have this more relaxed, slow pace. So now we're gonna have our breakfast. It's looking good. Ken's making an omelet, which is pretty exciting. This is a nice treat. Sometimes it's the kind of thing we do on the weekends, but anyway, it's nice to have it on a, what's today? Tuesday? Tuesday. So it's a very nice treat. We'll have breakfast and then we're gonna head to a cafe where we're gonna do some goal setting and planning and really dive into our fall reset day.
We're here at one of our local coffee shops, and we are going to start our planning session today.
For me, this is about seasonal planning, which really has been kind of a big deal for me in the last few years, is this really embracing living seasonally, which I feel is just another way of living more mindfully, really embracing each season as it's happening and just making sure that we're actually doing what we want to be doing each season, because as we know, the seasons tend to go by really fast, especially this one. As much as we love the fall, it's a busy season, packed, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot. There's back to school, and then there's Halloween and Thanksgiving, and the holiday season really comes very quickly. So we have found over the years that if we don't actually take some time
to prepare and to be intentional about how we want this season to go, then just before we know it, it's over. So that's kind of what we're doing. This is why we set this day aside, to really make sure that we're doing that.
Yeah, and part of it comes from the desire to know what we're doing. A really good piece of advice I got many years ago from one of my bosses was that she would set up her holidays. When they're planning, her and her partner, they're planning, they plan their holidays first. And it reminds me a little bit in finance when we say pay yourself first, is that when you are planning your year ahead, make sure you're putting in, kind of locking in those things you definitely want to do, those things that are a priority. And for Kim and I, travel is a big priority. So we always make sure that, you know, if we want to go skiing, if we're going to Europe, we make sure it gets in the calendar, because if we don't put it in the calendar or we don't book it, it simply won't happen, right? Life will just get in the way.
So we're going to do that. We're going to block off our holidays first. We have a whole plan of how we're going to do this. We've got all of our tools. We've got our laptops, hot beverage. I've got a London fog latte. What have you got? English breakfast?
I've got my tea.
I brought this productivity planner with us. We've got notebooks, pens, all the tools, and we're going to start by blocking off our holidays for this season, and then we're going to go from there, like talking about our goals and the other bits and pieces that we want to actually experience and how we want to feel this season.
For those people maybe who are thinking of like a bicontinental lifestyle or more than a primary residence, this is absolutely necessary, because you do have to plan in advance, and we'll get into it in a later video, but the idea of the house you're not using should be an income generator for you, and that of course takes a lot of planning as well.
Okay, so let's get to it.
Okay.
So we have finished up at the coffee shop. We've got all of our organizing. We planned all of our holidays for the next several months, really, and set some goals and just did a bunch of work on that. Now we're walking on our way to the garden center. It's in our village.
Yep.
I want to get some chrysanthemums and maybe also bulbs for planting because it's fall, and also maybe look for some stuff to get organized in the house.
Borrowing off decluttering things that we see on TV, we'll get a couple bins so we can separate out things to donate, store, and throw away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Halloween stuff, which is great. Love Halloween. I can see that they're clearing out for Christmas stuff already, which I'm not ready to talk about that yet. So I'm just gonna focus on the Halloween stuff and the fall stuff, because I don't want to skip over fall. Oh, I love this. This is totally the meaning of fall for me. Grab a blanket and get cozy. This is definitely cozy season.
Are shopping for some bulbs. We're looking at some daffodils. We're looking at some tulips. I don't know what any of this stuff is.
So we have come out of there with some plants and some bulbs and some bone meal to help us get bulbs, and I just wanted to show you a little bit of our village, Oak Bay Cobbler. Look at these trees, so gorgeous. I absolutely love it. So now we're just gonna pop to the grocery store. Are back from our shopping. We got our stuff from the garden center, and these are the bulbs that we're going to plant in expectation of having flowers in the spring, which I'm pretty excited about. Food for dinner tonight, which is turkey tacos, and also for a recipe that I'm going to make a little later for kind of a fall themed homemade granola, which we're going to do later. We're going to unpack our stuff, we're going to have some lunch, and then we are going to do some decluttering. I'll show you what I'm going to be working on. So this is my project. This is our like baking and spices drawer, which is, as you can see, a total disaster. So I'm going to be working on that, and I'll show you here what Ken is going to be working on.
I drew what we call the storeroom. As you can see, it's a bit of a mess. During the pandemic, we kitted this out so we could store lots of food and things that we didn't know if we'd be able to get to grocery stores. And it's really just turned into kind of a catch-all for everything. So I'm going to go through and
Golf clubs.
random golf clubs. I think there's a rolling paint in there that I don't know. See, this is an example. That egg cart there, that was supposed to be given away, and I think one of the kids grabbed it and threw it back in there because we used to camp with it. Our kids are really attached to a lot of stuff. We'll have a couple bins. One will be for donation, garbage, but then there'll be one that we will be putting in the attic, right? It's kind of like taking the dog to upstate to live on a farm, because it will go in the attic until they forget all about it, and then I'll donate it. That's gonna be my job. I'm gonna go through and clean this up so that it's tidy like it was when we first did this back in, I guess, 2020. I mean, you can just see that it's filled with golf shoes that I haven't used in a while. I mean, there's karate gloves that one of our kids used years ago that we haven't used. There's a lava lamp up there, hockey helmet, motorcycle helmet, bike, the golf clubs, bags. I can't even get in here because I can't see the floor, but the idea is to make this so that you can walk right in, to tidy it all up and make it so that we can actually see what we have and what we need to restore. Kim is gonna start on hers, so we'll go take a look and see what she's up to.
Okay, and here are all the things that I have pulled out of this single drawer. I'm gonna need to figure out which things stay, which things need to go, and then get it all organized again. I've also got my label maker here because who doesn't love a good label maker? And I am gonna put this thing to good use. Okay, let's see how Ken is doing. Everything is now out in the hallway. Okay.
A lot of that stuff is stuff we're giving away. Some of it has to come back in here, but the shoes I haven't even started with yet.
Right.
But I've reorganized some of this stuff so we can actually see what we have. I found a bottle of wine,
No way.
which I didn't know we had, which is nice. I also found, down the bottom there are 2 full containers of Tide. I also found some silly string, which is very important to have around the house.
I'm glad we had this in our emergency storeroom.
Just in case.
Yeah,
right?
you never know.
We're getting there. We are getting there.
Okay, and here we go, the final result. Everything's nicely labeled. You know, we've got mismatched stuff. It's not all absolutely Pinterest perfect, but I'm good with that. Although there is one irritant. Could not find this little spice jar cylinder thing. This one is missing. I've looked everywhere for it and it's kind of making me crazy because it's like a perfect set otherwise. But oh well. What can you do? It'll probably turn up another time. Sunglasses cases?
Yeah, there's 4 of them here. And this, look at this. I mean, these are all insoles from various shoes.
Weird.
Over the years. I found this pair of brown leather gloves that I'm pretty sure you bought for me in, let's see, 2022. Hidden amongst a empty cookie box, which I'm pretty sure our eldest ate well in the storeroom and then hid the evidence in here. Because it was like up top, packed at the back. I mean, it's proving fruitful. I mean, the bottle of wine alone is a bonus.
Yeah, it's worth it.
I'm just starting to get on the shoes now, so getting closer.
Okay, so since my job was significantly smaller than Ken's, while he is still working away at cleaning out the storeroom, I'm gonna get started on our fall baking recipe that I was going to do, pumpkin granola. And I'm preheating the oven to 325. Okay, so in here is 3 cups of rolled oats, a cup of raw nuts, and you can use pecans or almonds or walnuts or whatever you like. I'm going with pecans this time. Have a cup of pumpkin seeds over here. Have a cup of shredded unsweetened coconut. This is optional. And I was looking for like the chunkier pieces, but the market didn't have that. They only had like this really finely shredded stuff. So we're just going with it. A 1/4 cup of flax seeds. You could also use chia seeds instead, but it's a 1/4 cup of those. And then I'm gonna be mixing all of that stuff in a big bowl. So those are the dry ingredients. And then over here are the wet ingredients that I'm gonna be putting into that bowl. So we've got 1/2 cup of pumpkin puree. You know, you can just get that stuff in a can essentially that you would use for pumpkin pie, for example. Then I've got a 1/3 cup of maple syrup. You could also use honey. A 1/4 cup of coconut oil. I'm gonna need to melt that. 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. And then this is my spice mixture. 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg, a 1/4 teaspoon of ground cloves, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I'm gonna mix all the wet ingredients together in that bowl, then add them to the dry ingredients and then bake it all together. Okay, and then we're just gonna mix all of this together so that everything gets nice and evenly coated. Okay, and so I've got this baking sheet that I've lined with parchment.
pop it onto the baking sheet and spread it around. Make sure it's nice and evenly spread so that it all gets baked evenly. Then I'm gonna be popping this in the oven at 325 for about half an hour. I'm gonna kind of stir it halfway, and then it'll be done when everything is like all golden brown and like smells absolutely scrumptious. Now before the kids get home from school, we're just gonna have some tea.
All right.
Okay, so we're just taking a minute to have a cup of tea and relax before the kids get home. The pumpkin spice granola is cooking in the oven and it smells pretty good.
Smells
right?
very good, yes. Yeah, it smells like pumpkin pie, but it won't be pumpkin pie, it'll be granola.
Yeah.
So I think the kids are gonna be
Maybe disappointed.
a bit disappointed, yes.
But it's gonna be so good, and it's healthy. It's like and it's versatile. We can have that in as a snack and breakfast or whatever.
Yeah.
So how did the fall reset go?
I think it was successful. I think my job was harder than yours.
Yeah, I think you did have much
I had a
more
bigger
organizing.
task. But it feels good, like I said, you know, it almost feels like the house lost weight. Like it's just getting all that stuff out and regaining the space obviously has value to it as well. I know my tendency is to hang on to stuff. I can imagine its usefulness in the future, right? So whether it's a piece of wood or I'm like, yeah, in the future I'll use that piece of drywall for something. So I hate to get rid of stuff, but I need to do this more often because then I do get appreciation for the open space and that has value too. I mean, you guys saw what the room looked like before and now I can walk in there.
Feels good, right?
Yeah.
It's not always easy, but I think it feels good.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do more of that. I loved our fall reset day. All of the pieces, right? Like in the cafe, working on our goals and plans and kind of mapping that out, and then going to the garden center. I think we could do this again for sure next season. So next up for us today, we're just gonna, you know, kind of relax and chill, and then we'll have dinner with the boys, turkey tacos, Taco Tuesday, probably watch a movie.
Yeah, we'll see. It depends if the kids have homework. One of the things we do like to do is we do have dinner every night as a family together, and then usually there's an activity. They still want to do stuff with us, so
Yeah,
we're
we'll
enjoying
ride
that
that wave as
for-
long as that goes.
yeah.
If you try any of the stuff that we were doing, or if you try your own fall
cleaning?
reset day, yeah, cleaning, decluttering, or making the recipe, I'll post the recipe too for the pumpkin
yeah.
spice granola. So if you try it or you do any of your own fall reset rituals, then let us know, you know, in the comments. I would love to hear about that and get more ideas for, you know, the next time that we do a seasonal reset.
Okay.
All right, see you in the next video.